Why are people hating on Saudi Arabia? I mean, like, if you've seen comments like this or that one, these are the kind of things people say when it comes to Saudi Arabia, and it is blasphemous. So the question is, can we Muslims look up to Saudi Arabia as a role model for all aspects of Islam? The answer to that is very simple. You need to pick from them what is good and leave what is bad. And some of you might be like, is there actually anything good in Saudi Arabia? Yes, there is Tawheed in Saudi Arabia. That is the most monotheistic region of the Muslim world as of today. But are we saying that Saudi Arabia is totally infallible? No. They have their own shortcomings and they have their own mistakes and errors, just like how every other country in every other region and every other Muslim living in a place has their own mistakes and errors. But there is actually one more thing. Why do people get agitated and they get angry and the hatred increases the moment they hear that Saudi Arabia is practicing some sort of immoral activities or something that is going wrong, which in other parts of the world are practiced in large scale? The moment Saudi Arabia practices this thing, the whole world gets angry and the hatred increases, and everyone is just saying things here and there, and it gets so worse that some people actually label the people of Saudi Arabia as kuffar, and the rulers as well, they would label them as kuffar and whatever. This is blasphemous and this is not proper. The reason for this hatred is disappointment. Saudi Arabia is where Islam started. For that reason, it is considered as a shame to find out that these things are actually happening in Saudi Arabia. And that is why, ignorantly, some people actually go on hating in Saudi Arabia and they would say things that are not meant to be said. We are currently living in times of fitna, and the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has instructed us and has given us the guideline of how to live our lives in times of fitna. One of the major reasons why all of this ignorant behaviors is happening from Muslims is that we are forgotten the hadith of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that was narrated by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, where he said, "Satakunu ba'di athara wa umurun tunkirunaha." There will be after me favoritism and affairs that you would dislike. And the companions, out of their love for knowledge, they asked Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and they are the reason why we have that guideline and why we have this answer till today. They said, كيف تأمر من أدرك منا ذلك الوقت? O Apostle of Allah, what will be your guideline and what will be your instruction and what will be your command to any of us if he happens to live through that time? And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, تؤدون الحق الذي عليكم وتسألون الله الذي لكم. You would discharge your responsibilities, and that is by obeying the Amir, by obeying the leader of the Muslims, regardless of his state. In as much as he's not a kafir, a Muslim, the Muslim leader, you should obey him, and that is your duty, that is the responsibility you are meant to discharge. Then, تسألون الله الذي لكم. Then you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for your own rights to be fulfilled. And some of the scholars, they say that is by asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide the rulers, or by asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to change the ruler with someone who is much more just and God-fearing. So if the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam already, he gave us this instruction and he told us about this time that we're living in right now, he let us know that this is going to happen with the leaders of the Muslims, and he told us how to tackle the issues. So why don't you as a Muslim just discharge your own responsibility and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide the rulers and to change the rulers for the better? And that is the reason why as a Muslim you should never pass takfir on anybody. And one thing that I always say when I see things like this happening in one of the Islamic region or one of the Islamic countries or whatever, what I say is, this is the end of time. That is it. That is the most easiest thing to say. That is the most harsh word you could go. Don't go beyond that. These are the signs of the end of times, because the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said at the end of times these things are going to be happening. So when you see them, you acknowledge them. Don't go insulting and cursing the Muslims and saying all kind of things. Just pray for Allah to guide them and acknowledge the fact that these are the signs of the end of times. So discharge your own responsibilities and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide those people and to change them for the better. Barakallahu fikum wa assalamu alaikum.